The first car was invented in 1885 by Carl Benz. Carl thought of how he used to ride his bike and thought of how practical it would be if it was self-powered. That's how the idea for the car was born. In 1901, the first modern car was invented by Mercedes by William Maybach. Now one of Mercedes' most expensive cars is named after him. The Americans dominated the automotive industry in the first half of the 20th century. Ford, GM, and Chrysler were the three major car manufacturers in America in the early 1900s. Henry Ford founded Ford Motor Company in 1903. Henry Ford was the first person to mass-produce cars and make them available to the general public. One of the first cars he made was the Model N, which was a 4-cylinder, 15-horsepower car that sold for $600. The Model T was a 4-cylinder, 20-horsepower, which was sold in 1908 for $825.
Cars are a great way to get places like school and work. They also can travel at very fast speeds, so you can get places much faster than if you biked or walked. Cars can also travel for long distances, so you and your family can go places that are many miles away. And some people can't afford to take a plane, so they can drive their cars for very long distances that don't require you to go over water. Cars can also transport a lot of goods to stores like Walmart. Also, when you order things online, they can be transported to you through the use of a car. For some people, cars can be fun, like if they like racing their cars on a track or going off-roading in the mountains. And some cars can give you an adrenaline rush if you like to drive very fast in your car or if you like to jump it. But cars do come with a major downside, which is the exhaust fumes from a car can produce smog, which is a very bad for the earth, and cars are very dangerous for the people inside and outside the car.
As we move closer to 2040, the majority of cars will be electrified in some way, and the engine may no longer be the primary source of drive. Its role would be to support an electric motor. Today, only about 20 to 30% of the fuel burned in an engine is converted to power. There are many ideas for devices to recover heat that is normally wasted through the exhaust and cooling system. One idea is use it to drive a small Stirling engine originally invented. Relies on an external heat source to develop a mechanical energy, which in this case would be fed back to the driveline. Another idea is to use the thermoelectric materials, turning heat into electricity to help power the electric motor by hybrid. An engine of 2040 may not look like the 4-stroke engines that all cars use today. It may, for example, be a split-cycle engine where cylinders work in pairs, intake and compression, and the other for power.
Hi, my name is Ken Mayer, and I live in California.
Why did you become interested in cars?
Why ask why? I became interested in cars because cars meant freedom. And so as a kid, if you wanted to go someplace, a car was the way that it took you there.
How have cars affected your life?
Well, that's pretty easy. That's almost the same answer. It gave me freedom. I was able to go do my own thing at a much further distance and at much faster speed than I could with my bicycle before that I could drive a car.
What do you think of global warming and pollution?
Well, that is definitely something very, very important. And I probably can't get into it too deep for this interview, but it should be something that should be on every person's mind every day. And if we cannot get it right in an area like the Bay Area or California, then how do we expect the rest of the world to get it right?
What do you think the future of cars will be?
I think cars will always be here and they will always be in the future. They just may be redefined. So we started off with horses and bicycles and trains. They're all forms of transportation. cars just have wheels on them. They started off as maybe a wagon or, it's a four-wheel vehicle. And so, but for cars to survive, we have to have everything else to move them along. And what is the future have is probably going to be, what are we going to use to move that car? And so there's a lot of push for hydrogen, for batteries, and we're trying to get away from fossil fuels, which is a great idea. So I think cars will always be around, but they may be slightly redefined.
Do you think the invention of cars was a good or bad thing?
It was absolutely a great thing. Great. And I can't even begin to, you just look at all the different places we're able to explore, to do, people to do individually, as a family, as a group. And so if you look at something small, like a car, a truck, a bus, so they're all wheels, they all move, they all kind of fit into that vehicle or car definition. So absolutely, we're a great thing.
What is the best way, in your opinion, to improve the current state of cars?
To make them more friendly to the environment. So every time technology has the ability to step in and change things to make them better, then we should all be for it. It is something that we all need to embrace. And there are a lot of issues with cars. Something as simple as brakes and tires and oil and even used batteries are an issue. Fossil fuel is an issue. And so anything that we can do to try to solve those into the best of our ability that we can, whatever we can do to minimize our impact and allow this planet to last as long as possible for as many generations as possible, that should be a goal for all of us.
How do you use your car in your daily life?
Now, so I use it like everybody else. I use it as transportation. I'm not, because I use my vehicle as transportation, but I also use it to transport things. I don't drive a car, I drive a truck, so I use it to move materials from one site to another. And a little harder for me to drive a smaller vehicle, a little harder for me to do any kind of ride sharing or carpooling. It definitely does not fit in. So I'm definitely in that one end of a bell curve where I don't have a lot of flexibility. But we drive a lot of miles each year, and it's mostly just one person in the vehicle.